When I was 16 years old, I was a bit of a hellion. And I definitely gave my parents a run for their money. They are Viennese at birth, and we are from New York, and they had a lot of rules about things that I should do and things that I shouldn't do, and frankly, that was a bit too much for me. So I read about this program called the American Friends Service Committee. It was a Quaker organization that paid for teenagers to go someplace in America to do some hard work and help others. But in my mind, it was a free ticket to go someplace away from my parents' house. And so, although I was not Quaker, and I didn't say that I was, but I was not Quaker, and they accepted me. And they gave me a ticket to a place outside of Lansing, Michigan, and it was called New Era. And really, there was nothing there, nothing. So people my age were all picked up from all over the country, and we ended up driving. There was nothing around. You just went on this long road, and finally you saw in the distance this one farmhouse, and these 20 teenagers and a family were to stay in this house for 6 weeks and do work. I didn't know anybody, they didn't know anybody, but okay, so here we are. So the farmhouse had 2 big rooms, and one was where all the girls slept and one where all the guys slept, and then the family lived elsewhere. And every day, this large truck would, now you gotta remember, I'm from New York City, so this large truck would come, and we'd eat our breakfast, and then all these kids would get into the back of this truck. I had never even been in a truck before, and so we're all standing up, and this truck is driving us to the town of New Era, which is like a nothing. There's like a nothing. And we are to help these elderly people help their homes and fix their homes. And I mean, honestly, I knew nothing about this. And but you know, I went along with it, and with the painting and the hammering and all these things. And then at 6 o'clock, the truck would come back, and all these kids would pile in the back and drive back to this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. And it was an exhausting day, really exhausting. There was a lunch break in the middle, and otherwise we're hammering and painting all day long, long day. And so we would come back to the farmhouse and gather in the living room, and they'd sit in a circle and hold hands and sing songs about friendship. Okay, well, I wasn't into friendship. And I was as into friendship as I was hammering. So, you know, and we'd sing and like this, and what a lovely day, and it was torture. So, and they were all into it. And so this went on for a week, maybe a second week. I thought I would go crazy. So by the 3rd week, I said to the woman in charge, actually, I'm Jewish, and all of this friendship stuff goes against my personal beliefs. So she said, oh, I didn't realize. And so she said, well, then you can leave this friendship circle thing. I was greatly relieved. And so I would wander, and again, there was like a road, and then this farmhouse. You couldn't see anything in either direction, And anyway, so I left the building while they're all doing friendship singing and all of that stuff. And I crossed the street, and I'm looking at this huge acres fields, and suddenly it dawns on me, oh my God, this is all marijuana. I thought, holy crap, wow. So they're all singing and friendshiping, and I am picking my little heart out across the street. And so I gathered an amount of marijuana, and I go into the house, and they're all busy in the other room, and I start baking it and drying it out. And there were some rolling papers. Who brought that? And so I crushed it up and smoked it. It was not a big buzz, but I got a little buzz out of it. And so this became my every single day routine. So we'd go to work, I'd paint my heart out thinking, okay, 6 o'clock is gonna come soon. And then I would leave, they'd all do the friendship thing, and I would get high. It became so difficult to get high. I'd have to smoke like 2 or 3 joints just to get a little buzz. I mean, it wasn't like strong pot or anything, but you could get a little high. So the end of the summer came, and I had developed a little routine. And so I thought, what am I gonna do? The summer is gonna end. I need my little marijuana, grove across the street. So I decided to throw away all my clothes, and I filled my laundry bag with 16 pounds of pot. And I had a guitar and a suitcase, and I put this huge bag of pot, not dry, just like leaves, in my suitcase, no clothes, just the pot, and I boarded a plane to New York. Yeah. And it never occurred to me, like, something wrong with this? So this was when TWA, do you remember TWA was around? And so my guitar came down the chute, and I'm waiting for my suitcase to come down, and it is not coming down. And so my father says, well, your clothes are probably old and verschmutzed, and let's just go to the TWA counter and put in a chit. They'll find your clothes, and your suitcase, it'll be delivered. And it was only then that it occurred to me, oh my God, this could possibly be a bad thing. So he's writing this thing about, the suitcase is blue, and it has a strap on the side. Oh yes, we'll call you when, we find it. So actually the next day, there was a call from TWA, hello, and it so happened, I was waiting for this call. So I picked up the extension, and and they said to my dad, we think it's your suitcase. Would you like us to open it up and check? And I'm on the extension, no, that won't be necessary. And so they said, okay, we'll deliver it. So luckily, my parents were out that afternoon when TWA delivered the suitcase, and they delivered the suitcase full of pot. They really delivered it to my house. And I knew my parents were coming home in a couple of hours, and so I knew I had to get busy, like really. And so I had this kind of thing going with cookie sheets and emptying the pot on the cookie sheets, and there were 2, trays, and I could put one sheet in and then another one, take that one out, grind it up, put in the next sheet, like I got this automated thing going on. I discovered downstairs my parents had this huge, like this size of a honey tin. Yeah, and it was in the shape of a pagoda, like really big. And I thought, all right, I'm gonna put the pot in there. So that's what I did. So the trays would come out, I'd crunch up the pot, and I'd put it in this honey tin, and I knew I couldn't keep the honey tin in my room because, you know, my parents were suspicious, rightfully so, and so I had this big honey pagoda tin, and I left it downstairs, and so I started, you know, my regular routine of getting high, you know, outside. I'd take a walk and smoke a couple of joints, and it was a very nice habit. And then one day I came down for breakfast, and I see my father, I know, at the kitchen table with the pagoda of pot on the table, and he's drinking tea with one of those, you put the thing in, you know what I'm talking about, the crushed leaves, and he calls out, "Alice, this is the greatest tea ever!"